Shalom, shalom, shalom. This is your brother Kahan from the GMS Prophetic Vibration Camp here in Trinidad with another edification through the power and spirit of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai. Alright, so first and foremost, Kal Halayam La Alahayanawa. Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai Ba'asham Rakah Kodash Barakata Yahweh Barakata Yahweh Shai Barakata Yahweh Barakata Yahweh Shai Barakata Yahweh Barakata Yahweh Shai. Alright, double honors unto the apostles, the bishops, the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Double salutation unto the brothers who preaching and teaching the truth through all the four corners of the earth, risking their lives and the freedom to do so no more than ever. Shalom unto the speckled bird Israelites, and shalom unto the very few but faithful Akwat, which is the sisters. Alright, so the title of this edification goes somewhat along the lines: the judgment of King Leopold's son was not enough. Alright, something along that line, or the judgment of King Leopold's son was not enough. Something along that line, something along, maybe before the ending of this edification, you know, I would you know, figure it out. Alright, but nevertheless, alright, this edification going in the pathway of, I will bring one or maybe two scriptures, and then we would go to a clip. The clip is a bit lengthy, so I'm not going to go into too much of scriptures, you know, but I would the scriptures that I will bring is to the point, you know, get straight to the point, and you know, because I don't want to make this edification too lengthy and weary. All right, so the first scripture I will come with is actually from here, which is Galatians 6 and 7. Alright, where it reads, "Be not deceived," Galatians 6 and 7, "Be not deceived, Yahweh is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Alright, for he that soweth to the flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting." Alright, and this man, you know, this man and his people, the likes of you know, his people, alright, from the upper echelon down to the everyday average Joe Edomite, alright, they reap according to the flesh. Alright, they sow according to the flesh, so they're going to reap according to the flesh, basically. Alright, they're going to get their judgment. Alright, the Most High is not mocked. Alright, this is what it is. Alright, yeah, this is what it is. So they're gonna get what is coming to them. Alright, for all the crimes, all the atrocities that they have done and taught, well, you know, they get away and whatnot, so forth. Alright, it's not like that. The Most High don't play. The Most High, you know, let me see if I can get that scripture. A-C-T-A-O-N. Yeah. Alright. Let me see. Yeah, it's 1 Samuel's. Let's take a look at that. 1 Samuel's 2 and 3. Alright, 1 Samuel's 2 and verse 3. Alright, where it reads, alright, this is 1 Samuel's 2 and 3, where it reads, "Talk no more so exceedingly proudly." Yeah, you saw? "Talk no more so exceedingly proudly. Let not arrogancy come out of your mouth, for the Lord Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai is a power of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed." Alright, and hey, the Lord has your judgment in the balance. Alright, the Most High is a man of judgment. Okay, he's a God of judgment. Alright, and he has weighed your actions in the balance. And this is why your judgment soon awaits you. Okay? This is what it is. So without further ado, let me get to what we came to, what the edification is all about, and let's get it rolling. Bear with me. Okay, so we're going to listen to this here very attentively. Alright, we're going to listen to this here very attentively. Pursuant to this man and his wicked acts and the judgment that the Lord brought on his son. But hey, we know that that was just child's play with the Lord. Alright, there is an even heavier judgment that is going to come upon this man, his descendants, alright, and the whole house of Esau. So without further ado, let's get it.
Eventually, karma came for King Leopold II. His son was born with a chilling deformity, one that mirrored Leopold's most horrific crimes. In Belgium, King Leopold II was hailed as the Builder King for the building projects he commissioned. But overseas in the Congo Free State lay the horrific truth. Leopold was a butcher. The French Revolution had impacts far beyond Paris. As the guillotines rolled into the Place de la Concorde, Leopold II's grandfather had to run for his life, fleeing to the United Kingdom before dying 2 years later. Leopold's mother, Louise of Orleans, always considered sensitive and fragile, was devastated and followed him to the grave later that same year. The teenage Leopold II was losing family left and right, but then he found someone to mend his broken heart. 3 years after his mother's death, he married Marie Henriette of Austria. Much like Leopold, the people of Belgium fell in love with Henriette for her lively and energetic personality and benevolent disposition. She seemed to be everything that Leopold II was not. His official public career started in 1855 as a senator, and as the heir apparent to the monarchy, he didn't waste any time voicing his opinions, no matter how controversial they were. He became a vocal advocate for expanding Belgium's colonial holdings, touring regions in Asia and Africa looking for prospects. On December 10th, 1865, King Leopold I died, and 1 week later, his son, Leopold II, took his oath of office and became King of the Belgians. Despite the horrors he would unleash on the Congolese people, at home in Belgium, Leopold was actually a progressive figure. Some of his biggest legislative accomplishments included massive social reforms. He even gave workers the right to form unions. He passed a series of child labour laws that protected Belgium's youth from exploitation, and even instituted something of a weekend, giving workers Sundays off. Grimly ironic, given what he was about to do in the Congo Free State. Part of Leopold II's grand vision included a vast, sprawling overseas empire made up of cash-rich colonies. But his actions betrayed his true intentions. He only seemed interested in acquiring colonies for himself as a private citizen, using money from the government. At first, he set his sights on the Philippines. He believed that Queen Isabella II of Spain, the incumbent colonial power in the Philippines, was weak, and therefore eager to sell off her holdings. However, his ambassador, sensing the offence it would cause, never relayed his offer. When Isabella II lost her crown in 1868, Leopold made another move to buy the Philippines. There was just one problem. He couldn't afford it. He tried to devise a plan that would have made the Philippines into an independent state, meaning that a private citizen could purchase it. When that plan was unsuccessful, he set his greedy sights somewhere else, Africa. For the better part of a decade, Leopold worked in vain to acquire colonies throughout Africa and Asia, but by 1876 it was plainly obvious that he would have to change his strategy. He established an international scientific and philanthropic association called the International African Society. In reality, it was no charitable organization. It was a private holding company owned by him. He then hired the services of the explorer Henry Morton Stanley and set him off in the direction of the Congo to establish a colony. With some clever diplomacy, Leopold managed to get most of Europe and the United States to recognize him as this newly claimed territory's sovereign. At the conclusion of the Berlin Conference in 1885, Leopold finally realized his ambition. Belgium had just become a huge colonial power. The newly minted Congo Free State was nearly 80 times larger than Belgium itself. And Leopold had it all to himself, to rule over with his private army, the dreaded Force Publique. The first of the Congo's natural resources to be exploited was ivory. Although highly lucrative, Leopold wasn't satisfied. It wasn't bringing in enough money to fund his grand ambitions in Belgium. But then a sudden and sharp increase in the demand for rubber changed everything. The Congo Free State had plenty of natural resources that Leopold could harvest for his personal and political gain, and rubber had the potential to be the most lucrative. But harvesting the sap from rubber plants required hours upon hours of grueling labor. Back at home in Belgium, Leopold continued to champion the rights of common laborers. However, all the way down in the Congo Free State, he adopted a very different policy. With his new need for cheap and plentiful labor, Leopold jettisoned his obligations from the Berlin Conference and dropped all pretense of running a charitable organization. What ensued was pure horror. Having shut out much of the outside world, Leopold was free to do as he pleased in the Congo Free State. Using his Force Publique, he forced the native population to work, collecting sap to make rubber, which he then sold for exorbitant prices. The people of the Congo Free State never saw a penny, but they did see something else. Suffice to say, the people didn't willingly go to work for Leopold, so he had to adopt some horrifying tactics of coercion. Beatings, mass and indiscriminate executions, and brutal mutilations. To ensure compliance amongst even the most independent-minded Congolese people, the Force Publique abducted the families of rubber workers. This infamous photograph shows a grieving Congolese man. In front of him, the severed hand and foot of his 5-year-old daughter. Failure to meet rubber collection quotas was punishable by death, and the Force Publique had to provide the severed hand of their victim as proof. Sometimes these victims would survive being shot and pretend to be dead as their hand was cut off. The baskets of severed hands set down at the feet of the European post commanders became the symbol of the Congo Free State. The collection of hands became an end in itself. Force Publique soldiers brought them to the stations in place of rubber. They even went out to harvest them instead of rubber. They became a sort of currency. When the English missionary John Harris visited the Congo Free State, he couldn't find the words to describe the horrors he had witnessed. I have just returned from a journey inland to the village of Nsongo Mboyo. The abject misery and utter abandon is positively indescribable. Despite a quiet but growing chorus of protestations and condemnations, Leopold continued his reign of misery. The author, historian, and journalist Adam Hochschild was the first to provide a proper estimate of the devastating effects of Leopold's reign. Using estimates from Belgium's own census, he put the cost of Leopold's cruel policies into stark focus. 10 million lives lost, around half of the entire population. The barbaric treatment of the Congolese was bad enough, but the secondary and tertiary consequences of willful neglect and malice were even worse. Diseases such as smallpox and sleeping sickness swept through the Congo Free State and claimed millions of lives. It was always only a matter of time before karma caught up with Leopold II, and in 1902, it finally did. When the British novelist Joseph Conrad toured the Congo as a steamer captain, he was so moved by the plight of the people that he changed the course of history. His 1902 novella Heart of Darkness gave the world a first-person glimpse into the atrocities being committed due to European colonialism in Africa. With the book gripping readers all over the world and pressure mounting on Leopold, he decided to counter his bad press with good press. He paid the author Mary French Sheldon to tour the Congo Free State, ensuring that she only saw what he wanted her to see. Upon her return to England, she wrote, "I have witnessed more atrocities in London streets than I have ever seen in the Congo." By 1908, even Leopold's Belgian subjects had grown sick of his atrocities. After facing political opposition, he was forced to sell the Congo Free State to the Belgian people. Of course, he made sure that he was paid handsomely. With the shame of the Congo Free State falling equally on Belgium as on Leopold II, the Belgian people had no choice but to buy the troubled colony from their corrupt king. In total, they forked over 215 million francs. A staggering 50 million went to Leopold personally, with another 45 million going towards his domestic building projects. Leopold II might have been a butcher in the Congo, but at home in Belgium he was a builder. He used much of the profits he made from the Congo Free State to fund massive building projects across his kingdom. Some of the more iconic structures include the Basilica of the Sacred Heart, Hippodrome Wellington Racetrack, and, ironically, the Royal Museum for Central Africa. After the Belgian Parliament forced Leopold to sell the Congo Free State, instead of owning up to his many crimes, he began destroying evidence. Allegedly, he said to one aide, "They have no right to know what I did there." Not all of Leopold II's bloody profits from the Congo went to the Belgian people in the form of lavish new buildings. The builder king also splurged on himself. He purchased several private properties, expanded the royal castle of Laeken, and built resplendent personal gardens. His marriage to Henriette ended up not being what he'd hoped for. Even though the couple managed to produce 4 children, Leopold lost his heir. His only son, Prince Leopold, fell into a pond at the age of 9 and contracted pneumonia, a sickness from which he would never recover. After losing his son, Leopold fell into a deep sorrow, and his marriage suffered the consequences. He tried in vain to conceive another son and heir, but only managed to produce another daughter. Heartbroken and disappointed, Leopold and Henriette separated. In 1902, the same year that Heart of Darkness came out, Henriette died. After leaving her memorial service, an Italian anarchist fired 3 shots at Leopold's carriage, all of which missed. Despite his horrible reputation, the Belgian people rejoiced that he had survived. Later that day, while attending the theatre, the audience gave him a raucous round of applause. Even though Leopold's reputation on the international stage had taken a severe hit, he still commanded enough respect to hear from foreign dignitaries. Even the Pope sent him a letter in solidarity. Turns out Leopold was about as good a husband to Marie Henriette as he was a king to the Congolese people. Throughout his marriage, he carried on numerous affairs, but none kept his attention quite like the 16-year-old working girl, Caroline Lacroix. At 65 years old, 3 years before his wife died, Leopold struck up the affair that would ruin what was left of his reputation. His decade-long relationship with Lacroix scandalized the Belgian people and caused even more outrage than the revelation of his atrocities in the Congo. The lovesick king gave her extravagant gifts, piles of money, entire estates, and the title of Baroness von. Leopold managed to produce 2 illegitimate sons with Lacroix, both of whom he granted honorary titles. His second son was born with a severely deformed hand. The newspapers in Belgium called it vengeance from on high. Leopold wanted to ensure that all of his many estates, castles, and heritage buildings stayed within his family. However, as he had no heir, he devised a plan. He created the Royal Trust, ensuring that his assets would go to Belgium after he passed on. Of course, he included a clause that allowed his family to use the properties at their leisure. His final act as King of Belgium only cemented his place as a villainous character. In a secret clandestine ceremony just 5 days before his death, Leopold did the unthinkable. He married his longtime mistress. Fortunately, when the marriage came to light, the Belgian parliament invalidated it. Leopold II never truly paid the price for the horrific things he did in the Congo, and no amount of grand edifices in Belgium could bury his sins. After his death, he bequeathed a fortune in Congo securities to his mistress, Lacroix. His daughters from his first marriage tried in vain to get the money back, but in the end, Lacroix made off with Leopold II's blood-soaked fortune. Thanks for watching History Expose. If you love uncovering the best stories in history, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring with us. Don't forget to visit our main page, Factinate, for more incredible facts about everything.
So as you can see, alright, the atrocities of this man, alright, the great harm and death that this man had brought upon so-called Negroes in the Congo, which were actually Israelites, alright, alright. The population of Congo is made up mainly of the children of Israel, alright, from all three, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, but mainly Judah, I believe. Alright? Yeah. This was the actions of this man. And these actions, you know, this is how the people of Belgium, this is how they have managed to get their first world status. Alright, the whole of Europe, for that matter. That is how they were able to get their first world status that they have today. the luxuries that they live in today, the wealth that they live in today, and what have you, so forth, is by the blood, sweat, and tears of the children of Israel, you so-called Negroes, and Hispanics and Native American Indians too. Alright? This is what it is. But you know what? I think it's Nahum 3 and 5, I want to believe. Well, we could read this here straight to the point, but there's a next one. Is it 2 and 5, I believe, or 1 and I will check it out. 2 and 3 or something like that. But anyhow, this is Nahum 3 and 5, where it reads, Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord of hosts. Alright? We're just speaking about America, but also on Esau Edom as a whole. On Esau Edom as a whole. Alright? And I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will shew the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. Alright? And this is where you're having now truth being sprung forth out of the earth. And this man is being exposed. Let me see something here. Alright. There's actually 1 and 3. What I wanted was to get Nahum 1 and 3, where it reads, The Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. So they're not going to get away. They are not going to get away. They're going to come right back. They're going to come right back to get their judgment. Alright? All these royal families, so-called wannabe royal families, alright, from the Renaissance period to now, they are going to get their judgment. Plain and simple. That's plain and simple. Alright? The Lord hath his way in the whirlwind and in the storm and in the clouds, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. They are going to get their judgment, man. That's why the Lord said, I think it's Isaiah 52, but I can't remember the exact verse, so I would have to come here and type it in. How that paraphrasing go? Let me see. I think roughly paraphrasing it. Roughly paraphrasing it. No, not Psalms. There's a scripture in Isaiah. Let me see something. Bear with me. Alright, so I found the scripture is actually Isaiah 51 and 22. Alright, and well, 23 is the point, but I will start from 21, where it reads, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and thy power, that pleaded the cause of his people. Behold, I have taken out of thine hand the cup of trembling, even the dregs of the cup of my fury. Alright, and what King Leopold done to our people, that was totally the dregs of the Lord's fury, man. Amputations on a mass scale, alright, to coerce the people, force coercion into the people for them to get the quota, alright, to get the quota of rubber. It's the same thing that was taking place with all these Edomites. It's the same thing that was taking place over here, alright, where the British and the Spanish, where the British had they was cutting off the arms of the natives of the Northern Kingdom, alright, if they didn't meet the quota, the weight quota of gold, alright. the daily weight quota of gold. Same thing over here in the Caribbean, you know. They would lose their arms and whatnot, so forth, if they didn't make the weight quota of the day, you know, for the sugar cane and coffee and even cotton. Alright? There were strokes, serious strokes for cotton. It was in the movie Birth of a Nation. Yeah. Also Django. I think Django also too, where they didn't meet the quota, yeah, of cotton. Yeah, we really endured, boy. We really endured. We really endured. Yeah? So as it says, thus say the Lord Yahweh Baal Shem Yahshai. Alright? The Lord and thy power that pleaded the cause of his people, behold, I have taken out of thine hand the cup of trembling, even the dregs of the cup of my fury. Thou shalt no more drink it again. This is our last, man. Alright? This is our last. I guarantee you that. This is our last. But I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee, which have said to thy soul, bow down that we may go over. And thou hast laid thy body as the ground and as the street to them that went over. So they're gonna drink that. They're gonna drink that dregs. They're gonna drink that dregs. That is why the scripture says, it's Sirach. I think it's Sirach 10 and 19, I believe. No, not no. Or is it? Let me see something. Alright, it's actually Sirach 20 and 9. Alright, Sirach 20 and 9, where it reads, there is a sinner that had good success in evil things. And this, hey, as we saw in that clip there, how successful Belgium, how successful King Leopold was. Alright, the wealth and all these things that he had accumulated. Alright. And also the Belgians, because let me tell you something, when Belgium had acquired Congo from King Leopold, alright, the slavery didn't end. Let's get that straight. The slavery didn't end. Alright? The slavery didn't end. Our people were still living under the harsh, violent, atrocious conditions. Alright? So as it says, there is a sinner that hath good success in evil things, and there is a gain that turneth to loss. And they are going to lose everything. Alright? They are going to lose every single thing. Okay? Verse 10. There is a gift that shall not profit thee, and there is a gift whose recompense is double. And boy, oh boy, that recompense, that Leopold, that is intended for King Leopold, oh boy. That's all I could say. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Because I would end it off with this here. The book of Revelation, chapter 13 and verse 9, where it reads, if any man have an ear, let him hear. Which means if you have understanding, understand this. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. And these are things that they had participated in. These are things that they are guilty of. They led us into captivity, and they killed us with the sword. So by right, it must return upon their head. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And this is what we are patiently and faithfully waiting on through the power and spirit of Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushai. So I hope you all was edified through the power and spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. This is your brother Kahan from the GMS Prophetic Vibration Camp here in Trinidad, signing out, saying, Kal Halayam La Alahayanawa, Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Raka Kwadash. Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Shai, Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Shai, Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Shai. Double honors unto the apostles, the bishops, the elders, a great milestone that will well. Double salutation unto the brothers who preaching and teaching the truth throughout the four corners of the earth, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more than ever. Shalom unto the speckled-bird Israelites. Shalom unto the very few but faithful Akwat. And Brother Kahan saying, Shalom, signing out. Wa Abad Babal. Wa Abad Babal.